Joe asks, what advice would you give a high school senior in America trying to decide whether to go to college, and if so, which one?
Joe, I'm going to let Casey answer this first, just because I think it'd be fun to have you start off the show.
Yeah, no, I've got a strong feeling about further education, which is that I think in life you should only be doing two things ever. And one is like discovering what your passion is, and then two is realizing it. So Joe, if you know what you want to do and you are convicted that's where you want to be in life, and that trajectory does not necessitate a college education, then skip it. Chances are you don't know what you want to do, otherwise you wouldn't be asking us this question. And if you don't know what you want to do, your responsibility is to figure that out. And college is one of the best places, one of the best atmospheres, environments you can be in to figure out what your calling is in life, to figure out what your passion is, what your purpose is.
Joe, I'm going to jump in here as the cars are racing outside and say this. I agree with a ton of what Casey said. I'll also add that if you're taking $200,000 in debt to find your passion, that might be a practical kind of, by the way, debt that you can't even declare bankruptcy against, which I'm suffocated by the game, the AKA racket that is student loans.
Yeah.
And today, in today's environment, things that you and I didn't have, there are other places where young people congregate and pound into each other, and the serendipity of finding those mentors or contemporaries that allow people to discover. So look, I think one thing for sure, it's fun. Entrepreneurial, I look at you as an entrepreneurial artist, but I look at you way more artistic than I'm a. So call it entrepreneur artist. Boy, there's a lot of rationale in a 2015 world where college is not the right answer. And I think, you know what's really been unique to me, Joe, is I'm gonna give you a weird answer. I actually find that there's an enormous amount of kids, and I'm spending a lot of time on this topic since I was a shit student and have made something of myself, that a lot of kids are still just going to college, just making that decision on not wanting to disappoint their parents. And that to me is maybe the most fascinating thing going on, is that father of a 5 and a 2-year-old living on the Upper East Side with elite private schools where I'm paying college tuition for kindergarten already. It's been funny to me because I'm really poking and prodding the parents that are my new contemporaries to see how much pressure, and they have not switched yet. The reason I keep talking about college in a world where a lot of my friends talk about its demise as more of a 20-year thing than a 10-year thing is because I still think parents of my generation still value it too much for their own self-esteem. They want to say their kids went to Stanford and Harvard and things of that nature. So look, you've got to make your own decision, but I'm with you, like discovering it. And then I'd be curious, now I'm like mixing up the show. What do you think about this based on your answer? Because your answer is my answer, and there's one other part that I'm trying to figure out. I'm a big fan of practicality. I think you and I got lucky that not only were we able to figure out our passion, but we actually had some level of talent within it. There's a lot of people, a la the people that go and try out for American Idol or the wannabe NBA players. What's your point of view on Joe figuring out his passion is to paint, but he sucks shit at it?
Well, you know, I think that anyone's life, your world always shrinks and expands in proportion to your willingness to take risk or try new things. And that's why I think that like an academic environment is a great place for trying new things and experimenting with new things. So if your passion is painting and you're a terrible painter, then maybe being in an environment like college will open your eyes to something like graphic design, which doesn't involve a paintbrush.
Yep.
But you can make a great living at it, and you're realizing an artistic passion that is certainly in line with painting.
Do you think that then one needs to be challenged to make sure they go into the funnel of college to recognize they're not there to check those boxes? Because the way you play the game actually has as much to do with the game, right? If you hack college in the way that you're talking about it, you know, now you're starting to think about, you know, course selection. You're talking about the kind of group of friends that you're spending time with.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think college can be a total waste of time and money. If not approached carefully. And I think a lot of kids today go there for a lot of the wrong reasons, like what you're suggesting. And certainly if there are other opportunities that feel better to you than college, I think now today those opportunities are
way more practical.
Are as practical as an academic education. I can tell you that a big falsehood is that by going to college, you will get something else. You will find success. And one thing that's becoming more and more true, especially as technology is opening up all new means of transmission of information, is that if there were a defined path to success, especially in any sort of creative endeavor, everyone would just follow that defined path. 100%. There is no defined path. And college can be a great way to help you find one of those paths, but it is certainly not the only way, and it's certainly not a guarantee that you'll find that trajectory.
Yep, let's move on.